Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. Today, I have Mr. Hollis Jacob, who is from Tobago. He has muscular dystrophy. He's an executive member of the Trinidad and Tobago chapter for persons with disability, as well as a self-taught graphic designer. So today, he's going to talk about his disability because it is very progressive, and his life and his experience with his progressive disability as well as inclusivity into Tobago. So good morning, Mr. Jacob. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
So can you tell us a little bit about muscular dystrophy? As I mentioned, it is progressive and you were born with muscular dystrophy. You did not acquire it, right? But in terms of its progress, right? Its progress. How is it progressive or regressing, right? And what is your experience like with having muscular dystrophy?
The first thing, as I say, muscular dystrophy is a genetic disease or illness. The child or the person is born with it, and it is not recognized until the child reaches the stage of walking, that when it presents itself. And as the child gets older, muscle tissues starts to waste away. And because of that, you will lose function of be able to walk, sit upright, other motor skills like holding objects, holding your hands up. You could even develop scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. My experience with it was in the early years, growing up as a little child was hard. Where I grew up, everybody around me was normal. I was the only disabled person in my neighborhood, community, wherever. So growing up with it, I felt left out and isolated most of the time. The progression of it was slow in my case. I remember the age of 11 when I noticed I couldn't sit upright on my own. I have to be propped up most of the time. And I was told that the doctors gave me a lifespan of only 9 years old. And today I am 49 years old.
Wow, and you smiled when you said that. So,
Yes.
congratulations. And
Yes.
so, in terms of the feeling, because you know that it's continually progressive, right?
Yes.
And therefore, as you mentioned, it would lose different functions as it
Yes.
progresses. How does that feel knowing that you were one way and knowing, not even unknowingly, but knowingly that, okay, maybe next year or the other year, my life going to further regress physically? How is that like? And how do you manage those emotions and feelings?
Um, that's a hard question, because it's like going to bed, going to like today you can do something and you're going to bed and wake up in the morning and then you're realizing that you cannot do the same thing you was doing yesterday. So it's a strain and a challenge on the emotion and the mind, because like every day you have to adjust yourself to something new. Because I remember at one point in my life, I could have rolled myself over on the bed, and now I can't do it anymore.
In terms of support, what type of support do you get, in family, in in your life, in order to sustain your daily functions?
Well, my family is a super family in the sense of, as I said before, I am the only person with a disability in my neighborhood and my area, my family, right? I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. I am the oldest one. And they treat me like if I am normal,
Well,
to
you
the
are
fact,
normal.
to the point that sometimes we have like siblings, squabbles, and who end talking to who, and them don't care whether I different or disabled. I get it and I give it back to them the same. So that kind of helped me to like overcome the daily challenges and things. And then also friends and other people who know me, because when I talk to certain people who know me from small, they forget that I am different. They'll be like, boy, I forget you can't do so and so. Sorry about that, sorry about that. And I said, nah, that's small thing.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. And in terms of like Tobago itself, in terms of inclusivity, with regards to employment and recreation, how is it like in Tobago in terms of acceptance of person with disability and accommodation of person with disability?
Okay, that's a tricky question because I can only speak from my point of view. And from my view, we need a lot more work to be done because there are not much or no employment for people who are differently able, right? And recreational wise, it's hard to go to certain places, even restaurants and so on, if you're in a wheelchair or use a crutch or need somebody to carry you around. More need to be done on that in that sense. Recreation like beaches and so on, they need to make some adjustments. I have ideas, but they need to make adjustments.
You mentioned in your bio that you're a self-taught graphic designer. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little about that? Yeah.
Well, before I started doing computer graphics and so on, I used to paint and draw. Then when I realized I was losing the function of my hands, I went into a kind of a depressed season. And then I was introduced to Photoshop, which is a graphic designing program by a pastor from my church. And I played around with it a little bit, and I realized since I can't draw with my hands, I could draw with my finger. And then that's how it started.
Compromise.
Yeah, always compromise.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you give I guess people of Trinidad and Tobago advice in terms of, I guess a lot of persons are very sure going through a hard time in life with regards to, I guess, overall things like unemployment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What advice would you give persons in order to elevate their life and their thinking,
Um, the most advice I can give them is that don't give up. Right? There is always a way of doing things. Because as I said, like me, I couldn't draw with my hands anymore, but I could use my fingers. So there's always a way of doing things. You just need to find what is your way and then use that and rise above whatever challenges you're facing.
Awesome. So Mr. Jacob, I want to say
Yes.
thank you so much for coming, sharing your story. It was incredibly inspiring. And, starting off this segment today, I sure it would give me, and I'm sure viewers a different perspective of life, to see life, to live in the present and not really think about the future and do your best now,
Yes.
hone in on those talents that you have and find ways, to capture it. So thank you so much. And, I wish you all the best and continue being you, inspiring. And, I think you should do more persons, especially in Tobago, should listen to you, hear your story, and even give those advice in terms of becoming more inclusive. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, be good. Bye, everyone.